Many years ago, I woke up in the middle of the night to answer a video call from Sean McCabe. You might know him as seanwes. It's really difficult to find stuff about him now on the internet, but back in 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, he was a big community person who helped build creative businesses. And I remember being in his community and sending a really long post, like essay length. I was like kind of at rock bottom in terms of depression. I had no idea where to take my business. I had no idea where my life was going. I had complete lack of any fulfillment or satisfaction. Everything felt difficult. Every day felt like I was banging my head against a wall. And I just couldn't figure out how to find anything beyond absolute perfection. Like I'd become so trapped in my own mind that the perfectionism just bled through into everything. There's no point in going out for a walk because it won't be, 10,000 steps. There's no point going to the gym because I'm not going to hit a perfect rep every single time. There's no point posting content to promote my business because I can't even make my own projects for myself look as good as I want them to, let alone potentially a client or a lead seeing them. And I left this giant essay in his community, basically being like, hands up, like I got no idea what I'm doing. I am so utterly terrified and lost and worried because I'd staked my entire life on this particular direction of like, I am gonna go out in the world and build my own thing. I'm, in this case, design business, and I have no idea what I am doing or why I'm even bothering or why for some reason everything I do looks crap, everything looks shit. And I don't know what it was, but I sent that message and I went to bed. Like I literally checked out for the rest of the day. And after that, I woke up at like 2 a.m. maybe in like cold sweats. Like I was living with my parents at the time and just woke up like cold sweats, sat on the toilet and opened my phone up to check whether anyone had replied to this post. It was late in the UK, but it was like mid-afternoon in the US. And I get this message from Sean that says, "Are you free in an hour?" It's 2 a.m. UK time. I am freaking out because this guy does not offer his time so lightly. I sat there and thought, if I don't take this now, I will probably never get this opportunity again. I kind of like snuck downstairs a bit, set up my computer. It's pitch black. I have my microphone, but no video. And on the other end is Sean's voice. And we have this really intense back and forth conversation. He's picking apart everything in my post and figuring out that the perfectionism that I am so plagued by every single day is because I don't take the first step. It's not that I can't achieve the perfection. It's not that I can't achieve that final 5%. I could if I put my mind to it and I forced myself to and I grinded myself to the bone. It was that I refused to take a single step, even if the first step was easy, because there was no point. I was plagued by perfectionism that was kind of born out of survival mode as well. The survival mode of like, well, if it's not perfect, no one will see it, no one will like it, and then I will get no business, and then I will effectively, starve. Like that's kind of the survival mode brain, like mindset that I was in at the time. And we were picking this apart and I'm delirious, like head in my hand with headphones on, can't think because it's like 3 a.m. by this point. I'm barely conscious. And that like delirious state where you become really loose and open to new ideas and creative. It was like, people talk about like listening to an audiobook while they go to sleep. It's something I could never do, but they listen to it and they say that they get programmed, and that type of stuff. And that's what it felt like was happening to me. I had Sean picking apart this post and he just kept reiterating, like, you need to just take one step. You need to pick a direction, point at it and take one step. And I just kept repeating back to him, like, I can't, I have tried so many times. I have taken a step and fallen, and taken a step and fallen, and taken a step and been hit around the head with a baseball bat, or taken a step and fallen off the cliff. And in hindsight, a lot of those things kind of are ridiculous now, but at the time felt like my world was completely ending. And it reached the point where we were basically arguing with each other. Like, I was barely conscious, he was getting frustrated and angry because I just wouldn't listen. That's the other thing as well. Like, when you're dealing with like someone who's in like a perfectionist state, they're just not going to do anything. So they're just going to fight you on every single point. They're not going to listen to like, well, what if we break this down into the smallest viable chunk? It's like a Peterson-ism. It's like, okay, well, if you take the giant task and we make it into the smallest thing that you can actually do, when you have this level of perfectionism, there is nothing small enough. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter if the smallest task of giant client project is sharpen your pencil. You just won't do it. And then you build the stubbornness up, and then you just become, frustrated and angry and all this other stuff. And so Sean is becoming more and more frustrated with me. So much so that like he kind of is like, I'm nearly done. Like he came there to try and help me, and I was just being an ass. There was one particular point I made and I asked him about. He's like, okay, what you need to do, imagine the grand scheme of everything. Everything that you want is on the horizon, it's super far away. And he goes, do you want to walk towards the thing? I'm like, yeah, I want to walk towards the thing. Okay, so have you tried, doing a teeny tiny step? And he's building on the things and, trying to coach me through it as any good coach would. And I remember saying to him that I was terrified of the weight around my ankle, of all these things that I am worried about or feel like I'm not going to get, or am chasing that either I don't really want or someone else told me I should want, and the expectation that I put on myself and the expectation perceived from other people. I said to Sean, what if I end up just walking in a circle? What if this weight around my ankle just pulls me around in a circle? And his response was, well, you won't know until you take the first step. You won't know if your trajectory is completely wrong until you do the first thing. You might not even know where you're going yet. You might be like, that mountain looks pretty sick, let's go and see what's on the other side of it. Yeah, if you've ever been like out on a hike, like this is how I think. It's like, okay, well, I can see that hill over there, so I'm gonna go to that hill over there. It doesn't really matter how I get there or what's there on the other side. It's just like, I'm just gonna go from point A to point B. But when it comes to things you care about, whether it's your work or your passions or your hobbies, it can really feel like someone is trying to put weights around your ankles to prevent you from doing them. That resistance, I think I talked about this in my last video, but like, if you have to discipline yourself, like the word discipline, like you use it when you talk about children who have done something wrong. So in the context of needing to have discipline to do, the thing that you love, you're punishing yourself for not doing the thing you love, therefore you're disciplining yourself. And then it's this kind of like disciplinary behavior that put me in this place in the first place. It caused this type of perfection because it was like, well, I'm gonna have to discipline myself if I don't hit blank metric or whatever stupidly high target I was trying to hit at the time, whether it was followers or money or self-worth, like if we wanna hit on that button. In hindsight, it's one of the strongest, most potent things someone has ever said to me. When I'm basically in tears, it's 3, nearly 4 a.m. at this point, I'm saying to Sean, like, I just feel like I'm being dragged down constantly. I don't know who put this weight here, but it's there, and if I walk, I'm just gonna go in circles. That's truly what I fear. And his response was, you just have to move first. You don't need to know where you're going, you don't need to know what you're pointing at, you just have to have the feeling that moving forward is the right thing to do, and then the rest will show itself over time. And if it turns out that you do end up going in a circle, you will probably figure out long before you complete the full circle that you've started to veer off. And in some cases, veering off the track is fine, providing you're enjoying that process. And it's one of the most potent things anyone has ever said to me. It took me 5 years to implement it. I woke up the next day and I still have the recording, I recorded the call. But I woke up the next day and changed nothing. Nothing. I spent the next 5 years or so, was it 5 years? No, probably the next 3, no, it must have been nearly 5 years, running the same protocol over and over and over. It probably wasn't 5 years, but it was multiple years. Running that same protocol, destroying my self-worth, destroying my own self-esteem in pursuit of what I believed to be perfection, but the majority of people didn't even see. They didn't know anything on the outside because I was producing nothing, I was sharing nothing, there was nothing to critique, there was nothing to be perfected because I didn't take the damn first step. And I don't look back at myself in anger for not immediately taking this action and changing my entire world just to take, okay, well, I'm going to take one step and one step and one step. I truly think that some people are just, and I don't know whether I put myself in this box, I think I would, but I think some people are, I think if you struggle to find internal self-worth through your creative pursuits, this is where you end up. You end up just ripping out all the things that made you interesting, ripping out all the things that made you unique, ripping out all of your hopes and desires in pursuit of what you believe the world wants from you. That belief and that kind of self-hatred knots you up, and you become so kind of devoid of creativity, like it's just been like siphoned out of you, that it doesn't matter what somebody says, your entire identity becomes Mr. Perfect. But not in the sense of like the best at everything, but in the sense of like, if someone dares poke a hole in this mask or this facade that I'm showing the world, I'm fucked. Like I'm well and truly fucked. Like if someone sees through this facade that I've put up that hides the survival mode that I'm in, I'm screwed, completely screwed. Because what that means is that I will have been seen, and I can't be seen unless I've perfected everything. Until my world is like squeaky clean, like just out the dishwasher clean, or just polished and waxed clean, if someone breaks through that wall, might as well be good as dead. Like that's how intense that feeling can be. And for me at the time, I didn't even know that this was what I was doing. All I was trying to do was make good work. That's all I thought I was doing. This bubbling up of subconscious of like, something's wrong here, but we can't address it and can't figure it out, ends up as like that essay length post in the Sean Wes community, and then leads to him phoning me at 3 a.m. in UK time. So the takeaway, I think, for me was that sometimes you get the right information at the wrong time. Firstly, clearly it wasn't something that I was ready to implement. But the main thing that I look back on is that sometimes it is much better to take a single step in any direction than it is to worry about where you're going or how you're going to get there or what it looks like when you do get there. And if you feel like the weight of your craft or the expectations that you put on yourself or other people put on you are so heavy that you will just walk around in a circle for days, weeks, months, or even years, the only way to figure out whether that weight is even still there is to take a step. Because as I've found in the last 6 months, a lot of these things that we put on ourselves, a lot of these weights that we put on ourselves, that we put around our ankles and on our chest and all this stuff, on our hearts, most of them, when you actually go and poke them, just disappear. By taking that first step, you kind of start to break down that wall. You break down the wall of the ideal box you put yourself in. And I'm extremely grateful to Sean. Wherever he is in the world now, I have no idea. The man scrubbed himself from the internet. But I'm very grateful to him because he showed me that even in my worst headspace, someone can still see through and provide insight that actually, although it was many years later, works. And yeah, just take that first step, please. Because you will get to wherever you're wanting to go and you'll figure out where you want to go so much faster. Faster than you could ever imagine. it's not, well, if it's not perfect, it's going to take 10 years. It's going to be like 6 weeks. Seriously. Like, when you get that ball moving and you can adjust and pivot and dance around anything that comes up, any obstacle that comes your way, you're going to wish you did it sooner.